What's up, college sports fans? I'm Stucky.
I'm Colin Wilson.
I'm Mike Calabrese.
I'm Maria Marino.
I'm Charlie DiSturco, and we're excited that the Big Bets on Campus brand is launching its very own YouTube channel.
You'll be able to find every episode of the BBOC podcast, live shows, and other college sports content on this new channel.
Not only will the channel be dedicated to betting on college sports, but you'll also be able to find exclusive interviews with former college athletes,
college football power rankings,
and updates on other topics like the brand new College Football 25 video game series and the ins and outs of the recruiting trail all the way down to the transfer portal.
Whether you're into college football,
college basketball,
college baseball, or any of the college sports,
we are the home for college sports, and BBOC is the channel for you.
Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the action. I'll see you there.
Welcome to Links and Locks podcast presented by Bet365. I'm your host, Andy Wack, and I'll be joined alongside Action Golf contributor Tony Sartori for these Best Bets episodes. Tony and I will play 18 holes today, giving our 18 favorite picks for this week's tour event, the Tour Championship. Before we dive into this week's episode, a reminder that the Links and Locks podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older in Kentucky. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. Okay, Tony, we're on the first tee here for our Tour Championship Best Bets. Get us started.
All right, I'm going to start us out in the outright market and go after Patrick Cantlay at 35-1. So as the odds indicate, this tournament is most likely going to come down to Scottie and Xander. And I believe the winner will be one of those two guys, but I just see I don't see a whole lot of value in their betting odds pre-tournament. But I do believe there's some their numbers worth taking some dart throws on lower in the board. These are all going to be small plays for me this week because, again, I do think it's going to be Xander or Scottie, but I think 35-1 is a viable price on a guy like Cantlay. I mean, Rory won here in 2022, and he's starting the same sixth place position at 4 under. So it's certainly possible to make up the ground. And Cantlay typically thrives at Eastlake. He won here in 21. He finished 7th in 2022 and then 5th last season. That's 3 straight years of very good performance here. And why I really like him at this number is because his putter has been on fire, and his putter has been the only thing, I don't want to say like holding him back at Eastlake because he's had such great results, but if you look at his metrics, his putting stats have been pretty terrible. So if he's bringing in a hot putter, the sky feels like the limit for a guy that's had so much success here outside of that. And on top of that, I know it's going to be, there's so many ways to attack this venue, and approach play will be big, obviously, but I think putting will also play a big role this week. Each of the top 4 finishers here last year ranked in the top 7 among the field in strokes gained putting. That was the only stat or metric in which such a dominating trend occurred. But again, there's so many ways to score here that I don't think it's going to be a one trick pony. But his approach game strong with the hot putter. I think he's worth a shot at 35-1.
Yeah, I have Cantlay in a different market this week. I took Cantlay minus 110 in a matchup over Collin Morikawa. You outlined some of the reasons that we should like Cantlay at this golf course. He's got 4 or 5 top 25s in a row. If you date all the way back to the U.S. Open, finished top 5 at Pinehurst, finished top 5 the next week at the Travelers, finished top 25 at the Open Championship, finished top 15 in his first 2 playoff events as well. He's had a lot of success at Eastlake in the past too. He's a former winner of the Tour Championship. Something feels a little bit off with Collin. This was his second week in a row where he's now had 2 middling finishes in the FedEx Cup playoffs at 2 golf courses that I thought were pretty good fits for him. And his approach play has kind of not necessarily fallen off a cliff, but he's had 2 poor approach performances in a row. And I think that's a very concerning sign when a player loses their greatest weapon. And, Eastlake received a total overhaul this year. It's a pretty brand new golf course. They had a pretty big restoration. And one of the things that you get with new golf courses is brand new greens, right? And what happens with brand new greens, basically when you complete a renovation in 10 months, you don't have any time for the greens to settle. We saw this at Colonial this year. So the greens are going to be super firm, right? So, how a green settles is, when a golf ball hits the green softens, and over time, a bunch of golf balls hit the green, and the green settles. These greens are like concrete, right? They haven't received any play. So approach play is going to be tremendously important here. Like, it's going to be tremendously important to have that aspect of your game firing, particularly when you're, playing approach shots out of Bermuda rough. So I don't trust where Collin's game's at right now. And I thought even money on Cantlay was a pretty good bet.
Yeah, I like that. And I do like Cantlay a lot this week. I am going to not contradict you, but my next play was Morikawa outright as well. I'm going after him at 28-1. I do get the concerns. The one thing I do like about him is that even though he's taken a little bit of a step back recently, his main weakness all year has kind of been, or not, I don't even want to call it a weakness, but why the one thing you could say that his game lacks that the other big stars have is the distance off the tee. And I don't think that's going to really matter a whole lot of it this much at Eastlake. And that's really the only reason I want to buy low on Collin, because I still, while you are totally right, his approach game has taken a step back recently, and the results have correlated with that step back. I still think he's just one of the better golfers in this field. And at 20, so he's tied with Cantlay at that T6 position. And I just think he's until recently had such a good year. There's no one in my mind that has been more due for a win this year than Morikawa. And I just think at 28-1, that's a playable number for a guy who's finished sixth here twice over his 4 appearances. I do get the concerns, though. I absolutely do get the concerns.
Okay, I'm gonna get into kind of the obvious stuff, the big stuff here. I think plus 115 on Scottie Scheffler is a steal, personally. I mean, my numbers have Scottie and Xander combining for an 80%, over an 80% win probability. I can't believe he's plus money. This is a guy that we have bet at major championships at 4-1. This is a guy that we have bet at signature events at plus 350. Scottie Scheffler wins 33% of the tournaments that he enters when everybody starts at 0. You're telling me that Scottie Scheffler is plus money when he's starting at minus 10, and 25 of the 30 golfers in this field are 5 or more strokes behind him? Listen, I understand the Xander case, and we'll get to him too. I like both of them a lot. I think the Scottie number is wrong here, and I think it's a really good opportunity. This is as close to a buy low on Scheffler as you'll get. Like, I remember everybody was down on Scheffler after his bad 4 days at Pinehurst, and what did he do the next week? He won the Travelers Championship. I remember when everybody started putting Xander ahead of Scottie at after Xander won the Open, and what did Scottie Scheffler do the exact next week? He won the gold medal at the Olympics. I think you got to beware of the gap closing and the pendulum swinging too far on Scottie's not as dominant as we think. Like, this is a bad number, in my opinion, or a number that I would have I had closer to minus 120. So I'll take Scheffler at plus 115. I think he wins this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So like I opened to all these plays for me. It's tough to get 9 plays for me this week. So like these are all dart throws for me.
Very tough.
Bigger numbers, because I totally agree. I think it's 100% going to be Scottie or Xander. But with that said, there's 2 more dart throws I do want to make, and the first is Keegan Bradley at 40-1. I was just so shocked at the number. This is a number more than I'm backing the number more than Bradley for sure. He's starting in 4th place at 6 under. I know that's 4 back of Scottie and then 2 of Xander, but he's longer than a bunch of the guys that are at 6th. And I know, yes, Keegan is not Rory, he's not Cantlay, he's not Morikawa. I get that, but he's won on 2 or 3 times since October of 2022. And when you include last week's win at the BMW, that's more tour wins over that stretch than Schauffele, Hideki, Morikawa, Burns, and Cantlay. Bradley is, yes, I'm not saying he's better than those guys, but he can win and he can beat those guys. He's done it before. I just think when you're seeing those guys at numbers between 25 to 35-1, then you have a guy who's 2 strokes above them at 40-1, who has more wins on tour than each of those guys over the past year and a half. I just think that's kind of a disrespectful price. So again, just a little dart throw for me, but Bradley at 40-1, I like that number a lot.
Yeah, I've got my next play is I have Scottie Scheffler, Xander Schauffele dual forecast plus 180. I know it's no fun. I considered the Xander or Scottie minus 275 because my number has that as minus 400. Um, and I know these bets aren't fun by any means, but when I see value, I see value. And just like we talked about with the no hole in one bet last week, that was an easy cash. Um, I, you know, I prefer Xander to Scottie this week, I prefer Scottie to Xander this week. Excuse me. And I do think Scottie is going to win, but we got a bit of a runaway situation last year when the two best players in Xander Schauffele and Victor Hovland really ran away with it. Um, and Scottie and Xander are, they're pretty unbeatable when everyone starts at zero. And the fact that those guys are starting at -8 and -10, I mean, this is narrative based, right? So it's, obviously I could give you a million statistics of why this is going to happen, but these guys have been the two best players of the season. They're the two players that we should see. They're the two players that we deserve as fans to see dueling it out in the Tour Championship. Anything other than a Xander or a Scottie win would feel a little bit weird through what we've seen this golf season. Doesn't mean that can't happen. Sports are not scripted for a reason. But I think this format is conducive for a reason to see the two best players that are playing the best, that have played the best all season, that have the greatest advantage on this golf course based on their course fit. I'm going chalk this week. I think last week was the week where things got weird. I think this is a Scottie Xander duel through and through. I'm going Scottie Xander dual forecast plus 180.
I love what you said. I definitely feels like after this year we deserve that Sunday final pairing of those two just battling out, which would be a lot of fun. Like I said earlier, I have one more dart throw to make in the outright market, and that's Sam Burns at 45-1. So he plays alongside Morikawa and Cantlay in that T6 grouping at 4 under. And I think this number is just too wide to pass up at 45-1. Burns tied for the 4th lowest non-adjusted score here last season and shot a 67 or lower in 3 of the 4 rounds. The only 2 golfers to accomplish that feat last year were Victor, who won the event, and Xander, who tied Hovland's course-leading non-adjusted score. The success at this venue makes sense when you consider course fit. Burns is an incredible ball striker and one of the best putters on tour, which is how traditionally when at East Lake, yes, it's gonna be a little different this year with the renovation, but like you said with the greens, I think putting is gonna play a huge part this week. And Burns is one of, in my opinion, and by most metrics, one of the best putters on tour. He also enters this week in great form following last week's runner-up finish at the BMW. So again, if you're just throwing like little pizza money at longer numbers, I think there's worse ones to take than Burns at 45-1.
I like that play. Burns kind of just missed the card, so I'm glad that you got to him. I'm going to talk about the low 72 hole score. I very much on the record that I expect this to be a Scottie Xander battle at this point, but I think Victor Hovland at 16-1 is a great bet to shoot the low 72 hole score. I think he's just a lot closer than his results would suggest. I mean, he gained another over 5 strokes on approach last week at the BMW Championship. It was his first time gaining strokes around the greens since the PGA Championship. He's obviously played East Lake well before. He both won the Tour Championship and shot the low 72 hole score last year. This is a ball striker's test through and through. I think that approach play, driving accuracy is going to be essential this week. And if you're telling me on their best day, who is one of the only guys in this field that can hang from a tee to green standpoint with Xander and Scottie, give me Victor Hovland at 16-1 to shoot the low 72 hole score. Sitting at 1 under, I don't think he has a lot to lose. He's shown he can do it on this course before. I think Hovland's going to show out this week.
Yeah, I could absolutely see it. I'm gonna go to the top 5 market. I'm gonna go after Wyndham Clark at plus 290. So he'll begin this position or tournament, in the T6 position at 4 under, which already puts him right around where we need him to be for this plus 290 because this is including ties. But who does he jump? I guess is the question you gotta ask when you're like, is this worth taking a guy that's like 3-1? Who can he jump? And one that jumped out to me is Hideki. because Hideki could go on and win. Well, I don't think he will, but he could go on to win this. But this is a guy who just withdrew from last week's BMW Championship due to a lower back injury after a stellar first round. And it's happened time and again this year where Hideki, even in weeks where he starts strong, he's just a withdrawer. Something goes on with him. So I think there's concerns to be had with him. And even if he doesn't withdraw and he comes in relatively healthy, how much is that back going to impact his performance? So I think that's a jumpable golfer. And another jumpable guy that I think Clark can take down to get into the top 5 is Ludvig. And that's not because I don't think Clark is better than Ludvig, but Ludvig's never played at Eastlake before. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on him starting out in that top 5 and his first ever Tour Championship. Can he step up to the pressure? Absolutely. Because I actually have a bet on him in a little bit as well. But when it comes to Sunday, after 4 rounds of his first time at this venue in this important of a tournament, it'll just be interesting to see where the experience kind of comes into play and where it doesn't. So there's just 2 guys I think he can jump when he's already at 6. I think it's worth taking a shot on Clark to weasel his way back up into the top 5 at plus 290.
I'm going to take another top 5 here with Tommy Fleetwood, top 5 plus 360. I just love the way that Fleetwood's playing right now. He notched another top 5 last week at the BMW Championship, gained strokes in all 4 major categories. I think Eastlake's a really good golf course for him. I think this type of golf course where you have to be really accurate off the tee, find the fairway, hit your irons well. Some of these like driving accuracy and overall approach play golf courses like, La Golf Nacional, like Memphis, he's been very good on Bermuda greens in the past. I think Tommy Fleetwood has this skill set that I think is going to work very well this week at Eastlake. I've got him top 5 at plus 360.
I'm going to go to the top 10, and it's going to be a little bit of a dart throw. I'm going to go after Chris Kirk at 9-1. So he's going to begin the week at even par, which is T26. But with that said, I think 4 days is enough time for him to make up some ground, especially he's coming off that performance where he played really well last week's BMW Championship. In that tournament, Kirk put together a brilliant all-around performance that resulted in a 9th place finish. He gained true strokes putting around the green on the approach off the tee, while also remaining longer and more accurate off the tee than the field average. It was a great all-around game, which I think he will benefit him a lot, obviously, at Eastlake. He's only played at this venue once prior to this week, but he posted a 4th place finish here as he once again utilized that well-rounded game that we saw last week at the BMW. He just seems like he could be peaking again. He's a guy that has absolutely shown he can win on tour. I'm not asking him to take down all the top dogs in the top 5, but to get to the top 10 at 9-1, I definitely could see some crazier things than that happening.
I'm going to go with Sung J M plus 380 as another top 5 play for me. I love Sung Jae on this golf course. He looked really good last week at the BMW Championship, notched another top 12 finish where he gained over a stroke in both ball striking categories. Now he's back on Bermuda. We love him on these driving accuracy Bermuda golf courses like Sedgefield, another Donald Ross course for what it's worth. He's played well at Eastlake in the past. He's got a 2nd place finish here where he charged up the leaderboard. I think he's a very good candidate to both shoot the low 72 hole score and charge his way up to the leaderboard with another top 5 based on his fit on this specific southeastern Bermuda golf course that he's played well at the past. So give me Sung JM plus 380.
I like it. I'm going to take us into the first round leader market. And now here's where I'm going to give a shot at some chalk. I'm going to go after Xander at plus 280, but I would just as easily go after Scottie if the numbers are flipped. I think Scottie's better than Xander. Okay. It's like, I absolutely think that. But if I'm taking into account the fact that Scottie had some back issues last week and he lost strokes on the approach for the first time since 2022, I think if you're taking those into your handicap, then it evens out Schauffele and Scheffler. And if that's the case, then I'm just going to take the one that's the bigger number. But again, like you said, it's probably going to be all Xander and Sky this week. Who comes on top? I don't know. But I think there's worse bets to take on Thursday than Xander to make up that 2-stroke difference at plus 280, especially if Scheffler's back is a little tweaked. And finally, Stutter. Schauffele has had tremendous success at Eastlake. And I think just 2 strokes, yes, Scottie's the guy, but 2 strokes is doable for a guy like Xander. So plus 280, I'm targeting him in the first round leader market.
I'm going to go with another of my Southeastern Bermuda All-Stars in Russell Henley. I've got him at a top 10 plus 130. I thought that was a very fair number to get plus money on Russell Henley to work his way into the top 10. This is a player that I've been riding all season. He's one of the most accurate drivers of the ball in the field. He's a great overall approach player. I've already talked about the importance of precision approach play on this golf course. I think that you could get yourself in so much trouble on this golf course by not driving the ball straight, because there's going to be a high miss fairway penalty. There's going to be a trickle down effect if you're not able to control your spin out of Bermuda rough, which is going to be very hard on a 74,000 yard golf course, 7,400 yard golf course. And Henley also is one of the biggest risers on Bermuda golf courses when it comes to putting. He really does some of his best work on these firm, pure Bermuda grass greens. We've seen him contend. He's got 4 top 7 finishes in a row at Sedgefield. That's another southeastern Bermuda golf course with similar agronomy, designed by Donald Ross. Give me Russell Henley, top 10 plus 130.
I like it. My final first round leader play is going to be Ludvig at 41. So I want to take one of the top dogs, and I explain why I like Schauffele more than Scheffler, just price wise. But that play is really just to offer me some protection, allows me to take a bigger swing for Thursday's first round leader market. And that brings me to Ludvig, who at least is one of us in some capacity, is seemingly on him every week. I know we both see him in the same light that many do, and that he's the next superstar of golf. But for right now, and I talked about my concerns with him earlier, it's not his skill set to take down rounds or to score here. It's just over the long run of this tournament, where will his lack of experience at Eastlake and at a Tour Championship start to hinder him if, say, he is in the final running against Xander and Scottie on Sunday? So that's why I'd rather just back him on Thursday, because I think he can be the low guy. Skill set wise, he can be the low guy in any round. I think the lack of experience and exposure to this type of drama and type of tournament, level of tournament, will ultimately be the reason that he does not go on to win it. But I think he can take down a round, and at 40-1, I like Ludvig to lead after the first round on Thursday.
I'll get to 2 more top 10 plays. I thought this is a pretty good market this week based on some of the numbers I'm seeing. I've got Tony Finau plus 130 in the top 10 market. I really like the way that he played last week at BMW. I had higher hopes from him. I bet him to win the golf tournament. He ended up finishing in a tie for 13th, really spurred by a 4-under round on Sunday. My numbers have Finau as the 3rd best approach player in the field behind Xander and Scottie. I really think that Finau can make a real dent in this tournament via his irons. He's had a lot better putting performances this year on Bermuda. He used to be kind of firmly a guy that I would only pay on bent grass. He kind of quelled a lot of that when he won the Houston Open a couple of years ago. He played well in Houston again this year. He almost won at Pinehurst on pure Bermuda grass. I think it's an underrated spot for Tony Finau, and I've got him top 10 plus 130.
I've been on Finau a lot recently. I like that. So for my final play of the season, I decided to just do a fun one. There's going to be no anything to back this up other than I just want to do something fun. And that's going to be hole in one at plus 450. I know sometimes we've been on the opposite side of that. We've been on the opposite side of that bet. But I think that's just a fun one to end the year on. Just sprinkle it. There's been multiple aces here. I know they don't happen often. That's why we're getting plus 450. But when Woods won in 2019, Reeve and Schauffele both aced what I think is now 18 because of the but I think it's now 18. Then English did it on 15, which is the hardest par 3 in 2021. So there is precedent for aces this week, and they've happened on the tougher of the par 3s. There's also a par 3 on the front where when the hole is going to be cut on the right, I believe it's going to slope right into it. So I think there will be a possibility for it. At the end of the day, it's just my last bet of the season. So plus 450 on a hole in one will be a fun one just to throw some pizza money on and root for all week.
I'm going to finish this off with my final play of the season, which is a little less bold than you, but still one of my longer shots, at least in the top 10 market, in Sepp Straka plus 240. I didn't get to talk a lot about the restoration here, but the restoration was done by a guy named Andrew Green, who's phenomenal, a phenomenal restoration architect. He did the restoration at my home course. And he, one of the golf courses that he restored was Oak Hill ahead of the 2023 PGA Championship, a tournament that Sepp Straka finished top 5 at. Another golf course that I think is going to be very similar to Eastlake in terms of the way it's going to play with the firmness of the greens is how Colonial played in 2024, right? Brand new greens, and it was nearly impossible for players to stop balls out of Bermuda rough heading into these firm new greens. there's only 2 players in this entire field that finished top 20 at Oak Hill and 2024 Colonial. And that's Scottie Scheffler and Sepp Straka. I think it's a pretty good spot for Sepp Straka. He's played well at East Lake in the past. He's a very accurate driver of the ball. So give me Sepp Straka to finish top 10 plus 240, excuse me. And that'll do it for our best episode for the Tour Championship. Before we get out of here, final reminder that the Links and Locks podcast is presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day they power up the odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Virginia, or 18 and older. In Kentucky, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms, conditions, and restrictions apply. As a reminder, our action experts, Spencer Aguiar and Nick Bretwish, return with host Roberto Arguello tomorrow for our Tour Championship betting preview right here on the Links and Locks podcast. So for Tony Sartori, I'm your host, Andy Lack, and we'll see you back here next week on the Links and Locks podcast presented by Bet365.